Welcome to this production from the Severn Sustainability Society. What we're going to be doing today is taking apart this Dyson Ball vacuum cleaner to replace the motor. It's going to require almost a complete disassembly of the vacuum. This model Dyson is a UP13, but I think that some of the other models of Dyson might be similar enough where this would still be beneficial to someone. So first of all, let's go over some of the tools that we're going to need. We're going to need a number 1 Phillips. We're going to need 3 sizes of Torx bit, so a T8, a T10, and a T15. I have just like a cheap set you get on Amazon for taking electronics apart, and these bits were included in it. I would also say, and I'll point this out when we get to it, but if you have a Torx set that's more like a normal screwdriver like this one, there are a couple of screws where that's sort of required because you need a long reach, whereas the end of this handle that came with my set it's too big right here. But I'll point that out when we get to that. Found a workaround with this extra little bit. You'll also require a straight blade screwdriver. I have a larger one, which I don't think will be required. I think if you just have, the general size one, that's good enough. And also, it's a good idea to have some sort of tray to put the hardware in, some sort of organizer. You just get, a couple different cups or whatever you want to do that helps you keep the hardware straight. So we'll go ahead and get started. Actually, I should probably talk a little bit about the symptoms of why I'm replacing the motor in this vacuum. The vacuum is almost 6 years old, so it's just outside the 5-year warranty, of course. I was using it one day. We've been fairly happy with it. It was a gift, though. I don't think I would have bought it for myself. It's because it's really expensive. And it does, we've been happy with it. It does a good job of cleaning up, but I was using it just a couple of weeks ago, and it got real hot, and there was a, burning smell, and it started to kick on and then off, and on and then off, and then I tried it a little bit later, and you would plug it in and turn it on, and the lights would dim, and like the lights on the circuit of the receptacle where the vacuum was plugged in, indicating that there was excessive current draw, and that indicated to me that it was a motor issue. I tried to check continuity in the cord to make sure that see if there was excessive resistance or anything like that, and everything pointed to the motor. And so I ordered a motor, and I'll point out, once we get the old motor out, I'll point out some of the issues I found with it. Alright, so let's get started with the disassembly. First of all, we'll just take the little dirt catcher off. Okay, we'll take the accessories off. Get those out of the way. We will take the head off. So that comes off by pulling on this red clip. So just pull on that. There, got it on this end. Take that off, and then it just comes off. There's a catch, so you have to kind of twist it a little bit. There we go, and then it just slides off. I'll set that aside. We'll take the filters off. We'll take this filter here. This is the outlet filter. We'll pull off. Set that aside. And I have been cleaning it, but you can see after a few years it's pretty dirty, so I went and bought a new one to go along with the new motor. Now we'll take this side off, and the way to do that is this. There's a couple ways to go about it. There are holes in here, so you can poke that with something and spin it off. You can do that and spin the whole thing like that, or you can try to pry this off. This is supposed to spin. If you actually turn it, I think if you turn it this direction, it's supposed to pull out, but you can just pry it off. I found that just putting this in here works fine. Just something in there to hold it. That was enough to get it off, but maybe when we go to reassemble it, we'll actually pry this little insert off. So when you pull this side off, there are these two washers that go on there, so just keep track of those. Set those aside in our little organizer. What we're going to do now is pull this back, which is kind of tough. Be careful doing that. And that way, that'll help a little bit later. And I'll show you why once we get to that point. Alright, so we're going to start on the side where the outlet filter came off. There are 6 T10 or Torx number 10 screws. Here, 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 there, and there. So I'll pull those off real quick. There we go. And this comes off. We'll set that aside. So now we're going to we're going to separate this top piece here, right here, from this lower piece and start to take it off. The way we do that is there are 2 screws up in these holes here. 1, 2. There is 1 screw right here. And then we'll take these 2 screws here and here off so that this piece comes off. First, we'll get these, and this is the part I mentioned where it would be nice to have a regular screwdriver, because you know, if you take your T10 Torx here bit with what I have, this is too big right here to fit. And I found a workaround because I have this little hex exterior socket thing that fits with the bit, and that is just small enough to fit. So we'll take these screws out. Take our number 8 Torx, our T8. Get the screw right here. Okay, we'll put that in our hardware organizer, and then we'll get the two screws right here and here. They are, let's see, we need our T10 bit for that. Alright, and then this just comes off. We'll pull that back. This piece sort of sits in a notch. You can just pull that off to the side. There we go. I got a smaller screwdriver to try to get these out. There we go. Got those out. Now on this side, we need to take two screws out. You can see there are two silver screws here. You have to line up, twist this, line it up so that you can get to the two screws here and here. We take our T10 Torx bit and get those two out. There. And now this is loose. What we have to do is we'll sort of have to pry it apart to get it off. So we'll start here, just lifting that off, pull it off to the side, you see there. We'll go to this side. This is where your straight screwdriver comes in handy. We'll get that and just sort of gently pry and push it off so that you don't break it. There, just using just enough to get it off, but not anything more. Oh, we missed a step. Have to take this hose loose right here, so there's a small screw, so we take our number 1 Phillips bit. Okay, that's a little tiny screw, don't lose that. And then just sort of pry that off. There we go. Now, we've already pried this apart. And that just sort of comes off like that. We'll set that aside. Now we can gently slide this piece off, this piece here. It sort of runs in a track, so we'll run it down here and then sort of pull it off. Set that aside. So now we're going to take this piece off. Right here, this is all one piece. It requires, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 silver screws there, and then this black one here. You can see that they're all number 15 Torx bits. So we got our T15 Torx bit here. And take the black one out. Okay. Put that in our organizer. Now, what did I say? There were 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we'll take those out. Okay, now this one, to get it off, you want to try to gently pull up on, there's 2 tabs here, so you sort of pull those back, and then there's one on this side as well. But what you can do is sort of pull up right here. There we go. And then it sort of comes off. Set that aside. Now the piece below it comes off, and you sort of pry it up and back this way. So up, get it right, it's caught right here, so there we go. And then it's attached with the wires here, so just be careful of that. Now we take our T8 and take this little screw loose here. Little silver screw, put that in our organizer, and then you can pull up and let this spring out. So sort of pull up on that and the spring comes out. You'll see here the spring, what was happening is that the end of the spring was in over that little post, and then this sort of is screwed down up over it. So we'll watch for that on reassembly. Now we're going to take our little wheels off. So in order to do that, you pry this up, and sort of the same thing on the other side. You know, we'll just pry this up so you can see it there. Just pull it off there. We'll go back to this side, and I'll just gently use my screwdriver just to get it started here. See, that came off. There we go. And then get the other side again. There. Just like that. Comes off. We'll want to pull this little switch out. You can gently do that, just pull it off of its posts. And then if this little spring lever comes off, we'll go over how to put that back. Watch the wires here for this switch. I'm just gonna sort of pry up their little keeper and unhook them. See if I can get past them there. So we have our switch loose. Now we're going to take this black cover off. There's just 3 silver screws, one here, here, and there. We'll get our T15 bit. Take those out. Now the cover just has a little catch here and one on this side here. You can see it there. So we'll have to pry those up a little bit to get the shroud off. So just gently pry there, and we'll see if we can get, just very gently pry on this. There we go. Alright, and the rubber gasket comes off with it. We'll set that aside for now. And now here is the motor. We finally got to it. It just pulls straight up and out. Sort of wiggle it a little bit. There we go. Okay, and we'll want to take note of where there's a white and a black wire. We'll want to take note of what those are hooked to. We see that where the label is, spin it around here. The label for the motor, there's a, looks like a Sharpie mark, a dash or a negative sign, and the white wire is connected to this side. And that's important because I think if you cross the wires, if you get them backwards, the motor will spin backwards and it won't create suction properly. So to get these connectors off, you can't just pull on them, you have to squeeze right here. There's a little bent tab on the inside that holds them locked onto the post, so you have to squeeze them a certain way. See it, there we go, so that came off, and I'll show you that in a second. Same thing here, same thing on this side. I'll squeeze it if I can get my, there we go, and it came off, and there's our motor. Now it's loose. Now is a good time to really wipe out the inside here. I've already done that because I've had this apart already. Let me just talk a little more about these posts. It's probably tough to see with the camera, but again, if you just pull on these, you're not going to get them off. You have to sort of squeeze them right here a little bit, and that pushes a little tab out of the way so that they can slide off correctly, and you'll see that on yours. So now that we have the motor out, we can see what the issue is. I was reading online somewhere, I can't remember where, when we first started having this problem that the commutator could be going bad, amongst other things. For instance, you know, the brushes could be going bad, but the commutator is the thing that's spinning here that you can see. You know, I'm just turning the motor with my fingers, and it's very black looking, and there's a couple spots, especially here, where it looks you know, pitted, and that's really what's causing this motor to fail. And I'll show some footage of what that looks like when this bad motor tries to run. Conversely, this is the new motor that I bought. Got it for, I think, $40. It's used, but we can look at its commutator. It's not anywhere near as black. There aren't deep grooves or deep pits, so we're going to replace the bad motor with this used one, and hopefully that gives us some more life out of our vacuum. What I'm going to show here is how the old motor with the bad commutator creates an electrical arc that wraps around the commutator while it's trying to run. Compared to a good motor, there might be some arcing just right at the brushes. I would also discourage anyone from trying to reproduce this. So if you want to take the switch assembly off of the vacuum, either to maybe replace the cord or to just get up in here to do some troubleshooting, the way you take that assembly off is that there's four number 15 Torx screws here, here, here and here. So you just take your T15 Torx bit and take the screws out. Okay, we have the 4 screws out. Now, one thing I learned is that there's 2 tabs that catch in the back here, one right here and one right here, and they hold the, this whole thing on. So what you do is pry, just get a screwdriver that fits and sort of pry inward on those. Okay, pry it inward, there we go. And then roll this over there. So now you can get to the wires, and you can replace the cord. Now, one thing I noticed is that the spring and this little lever, for the brush bar switch, you see the brush bar switch here, they sort of fly out when you take the assembly off. And so to reassemble them, see there's this little lever, just find its place here in the brush bar switch and take the spring. There's a little knob for the end of the spring on the lever, so you just sort of put that in there like that. There. That's how it goes, and then there's also a spring on the power switch, but that seems like that will stay on. Then you just put the power switch back on there. And then reassembly is the same. You just shove this on there, the tabs will click. Here's the tabs that you pry on, and then you put the screws back on, and that's it. We're going to hook up our new motor. Like I said before, the white wire goes on the post with the dash, or maybe it's a minus sign here, by the label. And the black wire goes on the other post. So we'll take our white wire. You can see that very well. There we go. Take our white wire, put it on this post, clicks on, and our black wire, put it on this post. Oops. There we go. And then there are 2 little posts in here, one here and one there, with rubber, and they fit into these holes there and there on the back of the motor. So you just got to line those up. The motor can go in 2 ways, but the way that we want it is where the wires are correct. So you'll see that. Just got to find the post. There we go. There, so the motor just slid onto the posts. They're there to absorb some of the shock and vibration. And I'll just look down along the edge here and make sure that the wires are not pinched and that they're where they should be. Let's see. Yeah, that looks good. All right. Now that we have the new motor seated, we'll just reassemble the vacuum sort of in the opposite order we disassembled it. We're going to put this piece on first. One thing I want to point out about this piece is if this little lever here and its spring comes flying off, I'll just pull that off to show you how it goes back. So if we turn that lever over, see there's grooves in it. And this spring, you can see there's a long end with a an L shape on the end. The spring sits down into the lever like that with the long end pointed off that direction. It'll stay like that. You'll see how it fits together. And then we put it onto this post like so, with the long end of the spring sort of up against right here. So I'll try to do that, and it's sort of a pain in the butt, but there we go. There, so you can see the spring. And alright. Now I have found that taking this rubber gasket off the plastic and putting that down on the motor was easier. You might be able to leave it together and get it to seat correctly, but I found it was easier to do it this way. What you have to do is find the little notches on the rubber gaskets. Here's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so there's 3 of them, and you'll find how they line up with sort of the edge. So we need a notch here, and 1 here, and 1 there. And when you figure out where they are, there's also one, there's a shallower notch in it right here that goes here. So you can just sort of figure out how it goes there. Okay, there it is, and you have to make sure that the lip is seated correctly with some overhang, and that's why I found that taking the gasket off of this housing piece made this easier to seat. Now we just line this up with our little bolts and things, and that's not too difficult. We have to, there where we had to pry, pry to get this apart there and here, we'll have to remember to, or pay special attention to that as we put it back together. Okay, so that's seated. That looks seated, and now, there. Snap that down. Okay, that's good. Alright, we're satisfied with that. Let's push this switch back, so it just goes back over the 2 little posts. Oh, actually first we have to put the wires back into this little clip where they were, so I'll try to get those back down in there. Okay, 1, and try to do it so you can see it. There we go. And 2. Okay, so they're back in there. Now the switch just fits over its posts, and the little lever is there. Now that we have this black housing on and lined up, the seal is lined up with the end of the inlet of the motor. Our switch and the little lever here are back on correctly. Let's go ahead and put the 3 screws that hold this housing on here, here, and here with the the Torx number 15 bit. Now we're going to put the wheels back on by sort of prying it onto, this goes around here, and similarly on the other side, put you know, pry it so that this goes around this part. So we'll get the wheels in roughly the right spot, sort of pull them apart. Pull down on the bottom and up on the top. Get this over it. There we go. And this part, make sure this is seated correctly. There. Okay, that is seated correctly over that seal. Look on the bottom here. So this is where it needs to be, and then this little lever is up in this notch here. So now we're going to reattach this spring here. The end of the spring, little loop in the end, goes over this post, and it's sandwiched by this white piece, so it's kind of tricky. Got to get this in the right spot. So now the end of the spring is over the post, and you just have to, there we go, finagle it into place and make sure that the bottom, yeah, okay, and you can see where the screw goes. We're going to find our very small the very small silver screw and use our number 8 Torx bit to put that back. Alright, we got that back on. Make sure our little lever here is still seated. Got that back together. Now we put this piece over everything. I want to make sure that you can see up under here that the black, white, and brown wires are seated in their little grooves. It's sort of difficult for the camera view right now, but there, we'll get that into place and just sort of pry this back over where it needs to be. There we go. Okay, that's lined up. Good. We got that. Wires are in good shape. This looks good. Now we're going to put this piece back on. It goes like this. And want to make sure that the wires in here are not pinched. They fit up under here. Line this up, and then of course there's the tab right here, so you can get that in. And then try to line the rest of this up. Oops. This is sort of a pain in the butt. Okay, that's there. This tab is in the notch there. And then these two push tabs go together. And the seal seem to be in the right spot still. Okay, it looks good here. This is all lined up. This tab is lined up. Great. Okay, that's where it needs to be. And now we can put the black screw that goes here, and then the 5 silver screws back where they go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, using the number 15 Torx bit. So now we're going to put this piece back on. Sort of tricky. There's a groove here and right here, and it goes into a track. And because there's a tab that sticks out and a thing here, it's just sort of difficult to finagle it back. So I'm going to get it back on. Might have to struggle with it for a couple minutes, so bear with me. There we go. Seem to have got it. Alright, that wasn't so bad. And we'll pull it back up to about there. Make sure that it works. There we go. Alright, good. So that's lined up. Now we put this piece back on. One thing we need to watch for is there's up in here, you can see there's this lever that has teeth, and they fit up in against, oops, wrong way. They fit up against teeth that are right in here. And the trick to that is getting the end of this tab will contact here depending on where this thing is sliding. So I'll sort of show you that as I pry it on. We'll first start with this side, trying to get it up over like that, and then, you know, the end here in the track. I'm going to rotate it, try to get as close to there as possible. So something that's going to make this a little bit easier is to loosen this screw here, but not take it all the way out, but just we'll take our number 10 Torx bit and loosen that screw just a little bit, and that's going to let, I don't know if you can see it, that's going to let a little bit more play up in here for these teeth to mesh. There we go. It's difficult to show this part on camera because it's sort of up in there, but you'll see how the teeth go together. They really only can go one way because of how the teeth are shaped. There we go. I think I got it. And the way I did that was trying to put the white tab up against the black stop that it hits. There, and then just sort of push this down on and in. Okay, good, that looks about right. And then we'll go to the other side and pry these three posts, or pry the holes up and over those three posts. There, like so. Okay, that fit down correctly. Let's see if, okay, yeah, the teeth seem to be where they need to be, because you can see how the, when I move this piece rotated around the axis of the ball, you can see how this comes together correctly. So before I forget, I'm going to tighten this back up. And we can rotate it so that the holes are exposed here and here, and that was where the two shorter silver screws went. We'll use our, I believe those were, yeah, the Torx number 8 to put those back. Tighten those down. Oops. Now I'm going to put this piece back on over here, and it's real easy. It just slides in like so. And we'll take two of the, let's see, there's different sizes. Let me make sure I get the right ones. Okay, yeah. So we'll take two of these with our number 10 and then go in here. So now we have to line up this piece to make sure that the wire isn't pinched, that it's where it needs to be. That goes through here, and this has grooves, so it sort of fits together neatly. You'll see how that works. Then we just pull those two together. We'll do our, with the last two of the larger screws from that step, we'll use our number 8 and then my little workaround here for my screwdriver. Put these screws back up in where they need to be. Now from that step we're left with one tiny black screw which goes on the hose, and then this screw which was smaller than the other 4, and that, remember, that's the one that goes right here. So I'll go ahead and put that back. I believe that required the number 8 Torx. Yeah, so put that in my screwdriver. Okay, and then we'll go back to our number 1 Phillips bit, and we'll put that teeny tiny screw back up in here for the hose once we get the hose into position. Do a quick look, make sure everything looks the way it's supposed to. Good. Now we're going to put this piece back. It just goes on like so. There we go, nothing to it. It was just the 6 black screws with the Torx number 10. Yeah, Torx number 10. We'll just put those 6 screws back. Now with the 2 washers, put back on here, and we'll put the left side ball back on. that came off. Yeah, because you can see this is supposed to be able to like push down and twist. But it's better that that's off now. I'll just get this. Oops. I'll just get this with a screwdriver. Trying to be. You don't want to make this stuff really tight, but just snug. So there we go. That's good. And then I'll try to put this thing back. All right. That's good. It's not going anywhere. I'm going to install our new outlet filter. There we go. And we'll put the left side of the ball back on. We'll put the brush bar back on it. There we go. With the clip. The clip goes. All right. Back together. Just got to put our dirt hopper back on. We've got it plugged in. Time to see if it'll work. All right, good suction. Brush bar is working. Turn that off. All right. So what does repairing this vacuum have to do with sustainability? Well, by determining exactly why the appliance failed, we could replace just that part and keep the whole rest of the vacuum out of a landfill. And by investing our time into the repair, we saved a whole lot of money.